Welcome to the Reclaim Leader podcast. I'm Jason Tucker.
And I'm Jesse Skiffington.
We're two pastors in the trenches who are passionate about church health for greater gospel impact.
We share the ups and downs of ministry, strategies that worked for us,
and some that didn't.
Best practices and practical tools for church leadership.
The goal, to help all of our churches flourish. Let's get started.
See another sunrise, sing a little song.
Welcome back to the Reclaim Leader podcast. It is so good to see you here, Jesse. And man, you know, we got a new look. If you're watching this on YouTube, it's a new look, and it's not by choice. I mean, it looks fine, but all the settings were gone somehow when I went to go turn on the video, Jesse. And I guess this is a perfect segue into what we're talking about today.
Yes, for sure. Yeah. Well, we can't let this go too far into the fall because after Labor Day, we shouldn't have light or whatever. So we'll get it fixed by then, I'm sure. But yeah, we're talking tech stuff, just, I don't know, some behind the scenes a little bit at Marine View and Tower Hill for the things that we use and find helpful, and some maybe that aren't quite as helpful. Just kind of talking through the process of gear and software and apps today.
Yeah. And for everyone who is listening or watching, welcome. Maybe some of you are brand new. You just found us online. So we'd love having you. Drop us a line anytime, Jason or Jesse at reclaimleader.com. We get a lot of correspondence with pastors, and a lot of it is around sort of this stuff. Hey, what does your church do for this or for this? And I always say nothing's proprietary. We probably borrowed it from someone else. You know what I mean? So
almost certainly we borrowed it. From
yeah. So it's not like we invented
group effort. Really, I think it's one of those unique things that we can do for each other is reach out and go, what's working for you? Or, you know, hey, I heard you guys try ProPresenter. Do you like it? Is it too complicated for your small church? You know, like those are the kinds of conversations that can save a lot of pain and suffering as well, I think. Just
Absolutely. And so in real time, as we're recording, I'm actually halfway through the week of being the Bible Hour speaker at Ocean Grove. So for 6 days, every morning from 9 to 10, I get a chance to speak there. And I got to tell you, Jesse, it's really cool. There's so much. Ocean Grove is only a half an hour for me. Mm-hmm. And for those who don't know what it is, it's a Methodist camp meeting, very famous spot, great auditorium, where people like Dwight L. Moody preached, and just a lot of cool history. In fact, the history is pretty wild. I found out "Great is thy faithfulness" was written there, out just on the lawn, and nothing but the blood of Jesus. So like, it's kind of neat when you get kind of synced up with some of this church history stuff and thinking, oh my gosh, you know, these people who were way more important than me, you know, like they were walking these grounds before me, and there's something cool. And I think, you know, as we talk about apps and software and gear and things that we use, we always remember that it's tethered to a history. We just want to make sure that we're able to communicate that history in such a way that it is compelling for future generations. And that's really what all this stuff is. Like the way that we package the message, the way that we kind of administer it is, you know, in today's day and age, takes some tools. Mm-hmm. And for churches, we're trying to be scrappy and figure out what's the best way to use tools that don't cost too much. And so we just thought we'd just lay out a little bit of a hodgepodge of things and see if it's helpful to everybody else.
Yeah, I love it. I think it's important. And I think it's also just, you know, remember, these are tools for the mission and ministry of the church. Like you said, it's just, how do we best go about getting the word out and being a healthy community? And so these are the kinds of tools that we need in today's, you know, day and age. So I think sometimes I've had folks kind of roll their eyes or be like, you know, we're going to go low tech. And I'm like, that's fine. But it doesn't make these tools bad. So, you know, just it's an opportunity to be effective in what we do. So that's why we use it.
And I wanted to be clear, we at no time, and I'm sure you have no problem convincing my kids of this, we're never trying to be cool church.
That's right. It wouldn't work anyway. I hate to break it to you. It wouldn't work for us for sure. Yeah,
it wouldn't. I'd probably trip when the fog machine came on, you know. And listen, some churches, you know, I don't want to sit here and disparage what other churches are doing because some of them are just absolutely crushing it, reaching people. Right. So, but that's not us. We're not trying to be the coolest church on the block. But there are things, especially when it comes to how you've dialed in your worship experience and your sound and that all have a payoff, if you will, on on getting people engaging with God. I always say you don't want it to be just a performance when you're doing worship, but there's something performative about it. So if a young, let's say a young man gets up there and he's going to be singing for the first time and he's super nervous and he's way off key, or he misses his mark and he gets flustered. What are you doing as a worshiper? Are you letting go and worshiping God? Probably not. You're probably just like pulling for this poor kid to make it. Like, oh my gosh, I feel you have like that secondhand embarrassment or awkwardness, and and that's what you're thinking about instead of engaging in worship. And so there's always something performative to make sure that the performance isn't a distraction, but rather it helps lead people into singing, or lead people into worshiping God. So I know there's a line there, but I want to at least acknowledge the line and say that I think it's important. Okay.
Yeah.
So here's just a few things. One of the things, I guess we have sort of a mantra around here. You wouldn't find it on a wall or a piece of paper, but we always say, we don't use the Cadillac, we use the Corolla. Right? We are not typically going for, what's kind of the highest end thing, but what's the really good thing that we could afford.
Yep.
Now, with that in mind, I'm just going to kind of lay out a list of things that we use, and feel free to pepper in your list as well.
Sure.
First, I just want to talk for pastors about personal productivity. There are two resources that were game changers for me. One is Michael Hyatt. Michael Hyatt, and you could just go to, I'm not sure if it's michaelhyatt.com anymore, or they call it the double win at life and win at home, or win at work and win at home. And he talks a lot, and he has a full thing about your calendar.
Yeah.
And how to make sure that you are leaving margin. He's got all sorts of tools and resources. He even has a planner that they sell, a life planner, where you can prioritize your goals, make goals for yourself in the year. You can prioritize all these things in a really cool way. I feel like what he taught me was you can't, it's about managing your energy, not just managing your time.
Yeah.
And I thought that was super, super helpful. And then to piggyback on that, a very similar resource, also very, very good. Carey Nieuwhof sells a course called the High Impact Leader. And it's a lot of these ideas, but it's really dialed in for pastors. And between these two, honestly, I don't know if this podcast would exist without those two, for me, being able to figure out how to make margin to do that. So highly, highly recommend. What about you as far as like?
Yeah, Michael Hyatt is a go-to for me too. And I kind of developed my own process inspired by some of those things from Carey Nieuwhof stuff and Michael Hyatt stuff. And there's endless number of books on this topic, first things first and everything else in between. So I would say, for me, I've been inspired by some of those and developed my own approach that works well for me. But I think what I hear us saying is, if we don't figure out how to manage our time will manage us. And for pastors, this is particularly complex because we wear so many different hats. So yeah, finding what works for you, maybe going and checking out one of the resources Jason mentioned, and then just getting you kind of even if it's something you did and you need to come back to, it's just a good refresher to make sure you're managing your time well and your energy well, and making sure you're setting yourself up for long-term sustainability. So, the fact that we've been on the air now for 8 years or whatever, like that didn't happen by accident. It's because, well, you're more reliable than me, I think, probably. but we're purposeful about our time and our commitments, and we've thought through that whole process. So it's important for us.
Oh, and by the way, everyone, I'm going to link all these on the show notes, so you don't have to worry about writing all of these down. Michael Hyatt, I just remembered what it was. It's the Full Focus Planner.
It is,
and there's a book, if you like the book, called Free to Focus, where he also, it's a nice short read.
Yeah.
Great book.
I used the Full Focus Planner for a while. If you like an analog handwritten, it comes in a nice bound book. They'll send you enough for a year, and then you can reorder and stuff. It's maybe a little overproduced. So I didn't stick with it because I found it a little bit cumbersome. But if you're more of an offline person and you want to just thoughtfully write out things and think through your goals and priorities and all that stuff, it's a really useful tool.
Yeah. All right. So let's shift to things in the church that we use. Let's talk about giving. That's one of the things that I get asked a lot.
Mhm.
We use PushPay for recurring giving. And what we loved about it at the time, I'm not sure currently what the promotion is, but at the time they said if you didn't increase your giving online by a certain percentage, they would pay for the first year. So
Mhm.
there's a fee for the first year. They're pretty confident that you're going to hit the number that you're going to hit, and we hit it. And it also, the other thing we loved is it came with an app.
Yeah.
So they develop a church app for you, and so the church app we use, and we blast out information. You can give, you can watch services from it. It's really, really cool, and it's pretty user friendly. And so we don't know how to develop apps,
That's
so they did it for us, and it was part of the package. Now
Yeah.
they also merged with ChurchStack, which is a like a membership software,
Mhm.
which we just recently switched over to because we wanted those two things to communicate with each
Yeah,
other. So
pretty important.
the thing we like the most about it is event registration is really awesome. So especially if you're taking payments of any kind, it's very clean, very easy to
Yeah.
do. And we love doing QR codes for people to sign up for things.
Mhm.
And it's all very, very seamless. And I got to say, if your church has not gotten into getting your folks onto recurring digital giving, you're missing it.
Yep.
You're missing it. It's an amazing and wonderful resource for your budget and it really reflects how younger generations give.
Yeah, that's right. And I don't know, do you guys still do a collect the offering time during your services, or how does
We
that go for you
don't.
guys? Yeah.
We
Yeah.
don't.
We moved away from that and probably in 2018 or something. And the initial kind of fear from leadership was, well, our offering is going to go down. But what we had noticed is that we had more and more people giving online and less people giving in person. And so we'd pass the offering plate, and there'd be a few connection cards in there, maybe a couple of checks and a few bucks. But if you're a guest and this plate goes all the way around the sanctuary and there's like 4 things in it, it just didn't track. So we still create a space in worship to pray, to give thanks for the opportunity to participate in God's work. And so we once a month we'll stop and have a kind of a stewardship moment and celebrate giving as an act of worship and all that. So it doesn't mean that has to go away, but yeah. So we use Breeze. It's a smaller church management software, relatively inexpensive. It has an online giving platform there as well with recurring gifts and event registration and that kind of stuff. And I would say for small to mid-sized churches, it's a pretty affordable way to go, especially as you're getting your feet wet. I think we're kind of needing to graduate potentially to something, but Breeze just merged with Tidely again. So you have organizations kind of coming together to increase that resource as far as what it offers. And so excited to explore that as well. But we found it to be easy, user-friendly, volunteer-friendly. And again, having that online giving opportunity for folks, it's just the way the world works now.
Yeah.
So got to have it.
Yeah, and you just want to pick something that's going to be very user-friendly for your team, because most of us have volunteers or very part-time staff, working on that stuff.
Yeah, so you got to have that. And I would say, where do you think you guys are percentage-wise of online giving versus maybe checks or?
I know somebody knows that. That's somebody, not me.
I sprung that question on you. I think we're probably 60-40, 70-30, something towards online giving. So, you got to start there and see where it goes. But hopefully people are ahead of us on this.
Yeah. Switching to some of the things that we use around worship. I also get asked a lot about what presentation software we use, because in both services now, we're using sermon visuals, and we use some liturgy and things at traditional, so you can just look up at the screen rather than look at the bulletin, because some people have a hard time reading it. So that's all really good. We use Pro Presenter. Now, Pro Presenter is incredibly stable. In fact, I feel like I need to knock on wood here, Jesse.
Don't say it, Jason. Don't do it.
All right, I'm not going to say it. It's extremely reliable in worship.
Yeah.
Extremely reliable in worship.
Yeah.
And it also handles video very, very well, and it handles multiple screens very, very well. But you may not need that. So the way our screen situation is that we have 2 side screens up. So if you're looking at the chancel, 2 on the front, we actually just project right into the wall. and it's so that folks on our side pews can see. The rest of the time, especially in our contemporary service, the screen lowers in the middle, and that's the main one people look at. But we have a couple different things happening. We have the way it works, you can't have the same shot on all three screens, the way it's all wired up. So we have the center shot's a different shot. And then we have a monitor up front, confidence monitor. So what Pro Presenter does is it handles all of those things pretty easily. It doesn't take a ton of know-how, but that being said, if you have somebody who's operating your slides or advancing the videos or anything like that, it is not as user-friendly as something like a PowerPoint.
No.
But it functions a lot better. So it'll take a little more training.
Yeah. Once the service is built, it functions a lot like PowerPoint. You just push spacebar through the things or click on the elements that you want. To build it, you needs a little bit more training and expertise, is our experience. And so we use Pro Presenter as well. We have 2 screens, one on each side of the sanctuary, that are the same content, and then a confidence monitor in the back that I use for my preaching. And it has the current slide, and the next slide is my display.
That's my favorite one.
I know what I'm talking about now, and I know where I'm going next, and that's what I need for my preaching style. So it is really nice. We used to use Media Shout. That's another one that's pretty stable.
Very similar.
Yeah, similar, maybe not quite as many bells and whistles to it. And then there are other ones. There are free options even out there for presentation software. But what we're looking for in worship is something that's going to stay on and not fail us halfway through a sermon or whatever we're working on. So you just never know with that stuff.
When I first got here in our contemporary service, it was in another part in our fellowship hall. And it was literally a volunteer sitting at a literal card table with a PC that was running Easy Worship, and almost every week it crashed.
It crashed in some way.
It was a combination of problems.
You know what never crashes unless the bulb goes out is the old projectors with the you just put the transparency on.
Oh yeah, the overhead projector.
Yeah, you know what crashed though is when people got to flip it upside down and backwards to make it be right on the screen.
Preach it, brother. Anyway. So we use Pro Presenter. Yeah,
I would throw in on Pro Presenter too. You can get basically the group plan version of it, so people can have access to Pro Presenter from home and the office. So you can build the services during the week, and different people can upload the video elements and whatever else. And so we found that to be a really useful tool for just building the service as we're all kind of chipping away. So
yeah, I agree. And I write my sermons in Pro Presenter and then export it to the playlist.
There you go.
All right. Other things in worship or kind of around worship that we use. So in our contemporary service, and this is pretty new for us, we use worship tracks. We're starting to use them more. And the reason we're using them is to fill out the sound. And I think this is helpful because on purpose or by design, it's not just a pro band every week. We have volunteers at different levels of ability.
Yeah.
And we love throwing kids in there. Even if they really are beginners, we love any excuse to kind of put them up there. But what you really want is that consistency week to week. At least that's what we want, that consistency week to week. Sure. And we pepper in people that we pay every week too. But it's a different band every week. And so to build that consistency, when you throw in tracks, what this does is it fills out the sound. And then let's say your bassist calls out sick that morning. If you're playing along with the track, you can tell it to play the bass line instead of mute it, and it'll play it. Yeah. And we have found it to be a really cool tool that we're still getting used to, but we use Loop Community. Loop Community sells you these tracks. They're not that expensive. And also users make tracks that are less expensive. So you could buy one from another user who made one for a song. It's pretty good. It's just not the official one or whatever. And it's way cheaper. Yeah. And they also sell hardware, which our worship leader uses a foot switch to turn the track on and off.
Right.
And when we first started talking about this, there was a lot of resistance with the band.
I bet there was.
Nobody wants to play with a track.
Yeah.
But then after they started doing it for a couple of months, they love it.
Yeah.
And it just keeps everyone in time. You're not rushing. You're not speeding up and slowing down.
Right.
It's really dialed in. The trick is, though, if you feel in the moment you want to continue the song, you have to shut it off with your foot and then just play whatever you want to play again or repeat again.
Yeah. So you can see a little bit of a trade-off there of freedom
Yeah.
for quality and all that kind of thing. And we've done click tracks over the years to just kind of fill out a sound or to kind of keep us on point with something, especially if there's a slideshow or a video that we're trying to put into conversation with it to
Yeah.
make sure that it's in sync. You got to do those kinds of things. So yeah, I find the resistance from musicians and vocalists is reasonable to a point that, this is it authentic, is it a fair representation, and
Right.
again thinking
Just
this is a
cheating.
tool. It's
Yeah.
a tool. It's not it's there to help us do what we are here to do, which is to worship God and to lead people in worship. And so it's never about us. And so if this is a useful way to engage people and to create a consistency that people can count on week to week when you have changing volunteers and all of that, and I think your bass player example is a really good one, then you're not scrambling Sunday morning and going,
Exactly.
who's going to fill in, or having to say to the current, we are missing a couple of our band today. So we're going to be a little unplugged, or, whatever the thing is that you have to kind of qualify your time with. So I think it's one of those things to embrace, and maybe it works for your church, maybe it doesn't, but you can.
And by the way, it's not bad if you have to adapt and be like, oh, we're going to go unplug. That could be a really great thing.
Yeah,
But
it
we
can.
just like
Yeah.
not having to worry about that.
Yeah. So you guys have a different band every week for 4 weeks, and then they rotate through. Is that kind of how
No,
it
every
works?
week.
Every week is a different group.
Different. Yeah. So
combination.
there's a master spreadsheet. We got about 40 musicians and they rotate in wherever they're available.
Okay, I got you. So we kind of do a first and third, second and fourth approach. So we have two primary teams that lead first, third, second, and fourth, and then fifth Sundays are always kind of like what you guys do. But yeah, I think so. There's different approaches. One thing we've noticed though is when we're able to bring in young people or people who are new into a team that has a good sound already. I mean, you can always keep their volume on the low end, and
Exactly
you can
right.
set them up for success. And I think, doing the tracks is another good way to set people up for success and to grow your team. So appreciate you bringing that one up.
Yeah. And it's funny. I'm just sort of going off, what do people usually ask me? They ask me, what's our mixing board? I don't know. I guess that's important to know, but we just use a Midas M32, which just about everybody uses. It's a digital mixing board.
Yeah.
The
nice part about the digital boards, obviously, versus the old boards is you just push a button, it goes right back to where it was, and you can even get really geeky and plan each particular song in different parts of the service a particular way. And our board actually has 2 layers to it, so you could have an online output part of your board if you wanted to, and then in the room output. And so there's just a lot of the tech stuff gets better and better. It sets us up for success.
It really does, and it gets cheaper and cheaper, honestly. So that's a good combo.
Yep.
Then streaming, we use Boxcast, and I think there are plenty of streaming services that are good, and everybody's got their own preference, but it's been really reliable for us. Not perfect, but reliable. And we use for our online worship an interface or a skin that was free from Life Church. During the pandemic, during 2020, when we started streaming, Life Church is like, hey, if any church wants to use this, and it's the skin where you have the Bible on one side, you have a chat space, and you have the service window, and you can customize it for your church. If you go to Life Church, I think you could still find the skin and use it for your services. We love it. Yeah, and it was free, which was my favorite.
That's right.
They're so good with that stuff. They give a lot away to churches.
Yeah, I love that.
A new one that we are just about to beta test is a company called Aberdeen.io, Aberdeen.io. It's a translation software. Now, here's what happened. We have a Chinese group who have a connection with the church, who want to worship with us, but English is a second language, and they're a little bit nervous that they're not going to know what's going on. And it was funny because right when that need was mentioned to us, I saw an ad for this company. Long story short, I talked with them, and it's fairly affordable, like $100 a week or something like that. But it's in real time, and you could use this for people with hard of hearing as well. It real time gives you the language on your phone or on your device. You bring your device, you sync it up, and then it's giving you a translation that you can look at and an audio translation live.
Yeah.
So in this case, we can translate Mandarin Chinese into English for that group who wants to come. Now we're about to test it. They give you the first month for free to test it and see if you love it.
Yeah.
And then it goes on. I think you pay per month. It's all about time you're paying for. So again, we haven't tested this yet, but it's a really cool up and coming technology because, for example, let's say we want to reach a Spanish speaking group. We don't have a Spanish pastor, but we can do the translation for them. All they have to do is go on their device. So this is like one of those really neat things.
In your pocket, UN translators in your pocket, right? And
yeah, it's awesome.
It's pretty neat. There's some good technology related to that for post-production too, where it'll take stuff and translate it into different languages. It's just a great tool to use to, again, a tool to get the message out to the folks that are part of our life together or would like to be. So I love it. I can't wait to see how that goes for you guys.
Yeah. So, and then lastly, when it comes, at least as far as worship goes, you may have some other ones that you want to throw in there, but for sermons, we just started using Sermon AI, and there's a few different ones, Sermon Shots, things like this. And what they'll do is you can upload your sermon and it'll clip it for you and turn it into bite-sized clips you can put on social media. It does a really nice job. So I don't know, were there some other things around worship, Jesse, that?
No, I think you kind of captured a lot of those, Jason. And I think when it comes to tech like this, when you hear it like this, if you're not using some of these things already, it's like, oh my, we're so far behind, or we're whatever. And I would just encourage you, pick one of them or pick something and start working on it, whether it's, thinking about your production software, what's going to present and how do you want to handle that, or thinking about, something like the sermon.ai. I mean, that's really cool. And it'll even crank out for you small group discussion questions, other kinds of content that you can put alongside that for just to, again, simplify the work that you probably would already be doing. So I like it. Yeah, good suggestions all the way around.
And then quick couple of social media things or communication things. We use CoSchedule for our social media scheduling, where you can put all your posts together and schedule them way ahead of time, weeks ahead of time to go out, which is really nice for whoever's doing that for your church. For our e-newsletter that goes out usually every week, sometimes it's more, just depending on what's going on, we use Benchmark. Now, I got to say, we aren't in love with it. And we haven't been, but we feel like we're stuck because that's
what did you choose that for versus like MailChimp or something?
I think this was an OG thing.
Okay, I got you.
And we just started with Benchmark 15 years ago or something.
Yeah, we do. Ours is MailChimp. I'm sure folks know that one, but there's a few. I mean, but again, it's creating reliable, consistent things that you can schedule in advance that your team can work on collaboratively in the cloud. And so anything like that is useful. Yeah. I can't remember what our social media software or planning software is. I should have asked my team before we got in here, but
Hootsuite's a popular one.
Yeah, maybe it's Hootsuite. I think we started there. I think we're on another one now, but it's just about scheduling in advance. So it creates a rhythm and a predictability. So like often Thursdays are communication social media day for us. So we just walk through the next week or 2 weeks sometimes, what needs to go out when, and make sure it's all scheduled. And, if there's a memory verse for Sunday or a scripture passage or something that I want to include because they're nice enough to include me in the conversation or whatever, it's just creating some rhythm around that stuff. And those tools help us to do that.
And I also like Kit, that's what I use for this podcast. And so if you get emails from us, that's what it comes from. I think I just like it because it's very easy and clean, and I just need easy. So and it's reliable. So I like it. That's I like that too. And I should mention, I didn't mention this before, we are not getting a single dime for any one of these recommendations.
Not yet. And if you're listening from one of these companies,
PushPay's got the money.
Jason out to lunch or something,
do Andy Stanley, unfortunately. I don't know.
That's right.
But no, and just so you know, this is the stuff we use. I have no skin in the game with who you decide to go with. Okay. Another resource that I think is important to mention is for a lot of leading change stuff where you need to be equipped with information, I love Barna.
Yeah.
Barna and Glue are connected now, but Barna has a paywall with a membership that I highly recommend. They have tons and tons of information. So, for example, like the last time we were talking about doing a capital campaign and the next generation and all that stuff, I would go into their articles about, tell me about Gen Z, tell me about Gen Alpha. And I was able to sort of help build a case, not just with what we think to be right about the next generation, but with some knowledge and information to back it up. That's one of my favorite go-to spots is Barna.
Yeah, solid resource. And there's so many good things like that. I mean, there's so much available to us now, Jason. So if we're not drawing on those outside resources, we got to maybe look ourselves in the mirror a little bit and have a conversation about that. So I think I love those. Other ones that come to mind, what else is on your radar, tech-wise or software or gear-wise, that you love and would recommend?
Right Now Media.
Yeah.
And we did an episode maybe a year and a half ago with the president of Right Now Media. But Right Now Media is excellent. It's like you have all these Bible studies available for the people in your church. There's some faith films, stuff like that. Love Right Now Media. And what I also love is that if your church gets a subscription to Right Now Media, they allow you to share it with everybody in your church. And you can put it on your website. That's what we did. And anybody that grabs it from there can have access through your church's membership, which is super generous.
Yeah, that's super cool.
Outreach.com is another resource. We sometimes buy banners and things from there. Every year we get our Lenten devotionals there, and they come with a sermon series, or you can get the kit that comes with a sermon series with bumper videos and all that stuff. I love that for Lent because I love not having to create something brand new. Yeah. I can just use their template and then write the sermon kind of within those guardrails, which is really, really helpful.
Yeah. And same for Christmas time. If you're looking for Advent stuff and a mailer and a slip postcard and that kind of stuff. Yeah. Outreach.com.
Then lastly, I also get a lot of questions about our website. People like our website, and we did pay a lot more for that. So everything else we've done sort of on the cheap. And I mean, it's not crazy, but it's not nothing. We use a company called Pro Media Fire, and it costs us about $14,000 to completely redo the website. And then we did that a couple of years ago. And then now we just did another kind of overhaul or tweak, and it was way less, like under $1,000. But it's we thought it was an investment that was worth the cost to make sure it works. It is the front door of the church. We want to make sure that it is reliable and it shows up on people's phones and devices the way that it's supposed to. People can access worship, all that stuff. So Pro Media Fire is the company that we used.
Yeah, we went through that process with them, I don't know, a couple of years back, and they literally walk you and your team through it. So if you're like, man, I don't know how to build a website or whatever, a group like that can really set you up for success. And I think the maintenance fee on it is not insignificant. So if you're thinking in terms of like ongoing costs related to your website, but they're willing to work with you too. They understand small churches and big churches and budgets and stuff. And so, I'm glad that we were inspired by you to take that step.
Yeah. So I don't know. That's it. I don't know if there's some other things that I just thought it'd be nice to create a list and maybe it's helpful.
I think you hit on, I think, all the ones that I would want to mention too. And again, just thinking of how do we make sure technology is our friend and helpful for the mission? I mean, that's what it's there for. And so, get in there and find the tools that are going to work well for you, and maybe try one that you heard today. And there's always a learning curve for everything, but you can do it, and you're going to be more effective in your work as you kind of learn how to use these tools well. So I'm sure there's plenty of different options too that people are thinking of out there. So feel free, let us know what you think works well. I'm all ears for different kinds of things that would work in the context of worship, or what people are using for online giving and that kind of stuff. I'm always curious to hear what's working for folks. So don't hesitate to reach out with your ideas to us as well.
Yeah. And also don't feel like you have to do all of this and do it alone. Send this episode to a volunteer who maybe is interested in this stuff, or who has time to check it out, or send it, distribute it, share the work, so that you
Yeah.
don't feel overwhelmed about like,
Yeah,
oh my
I think
gosh.
that's it, and it actually helps people kind of dream with you too. I remember when we were going to do the work on the website, and it's not an insignificant amount, 10 to 14,000 bucks to redo a website, and yet if you're talking about that, and there's a few people that are going to go, I think that matters a lot, and are not only going to come behind it in maybe a volunteer way, but might also financially support that effort because they think this matters a lot for our mission. So yeah, invite people in and dream together, help them understand what you understand so that you can succeed together.
Well, thanks everyone for listening. It's been really great just the last few months and doing the podcast together and hearing from a lot of you. So again, I hope this is helpful. That's the whole point of this whole thing, is we want it to be helpful as you continue to help lead your church forward and become the flourishing congregation that the Lord has in mind. And hopefully we are a trusted resource as you do that. So again, reach out anytime. Our mantra around here is that ministry is hard. It is so much better when we do it together. All right, take care, everyone.